It's been well over a year since we received the first installment in the Return of Them saga. 5 major and many minor updates and reworks later, and we're still no closer to them returning. Where are they? Who are they? Besides the initial Turn of Tides update, we haven't really been given anything at all that even resembles the main theme at play here. And I just want to make this clear, I don't want this video to be a hit piece on Klei and the ocean content that they've been putting out. Opinions of that aside, we'll touch on that a little bit, but I thought that this could be a good opportunity to maybe influence the remainder of the Return of Them updates in a meaningful way, and also hear your thoughts and opinions on the subject as well. But I want to take you guys back to before this all started to get an idea of where this theme of them originated. Yes, we're gonna have a look at some lore today. Now, there are many mentions throughout the game of the powers of nightmare fuel and the way in which creatures had been affected by it. We see this especially when observing the world through Maxwell's eyes. He laments what happened to creatures like the Ancient Guardian and claims that the excessive use of fuel was what caused the ruin of the ancient civilization. You can even see the literal ruins of the previous society. The village biome shows what may have been an ancient town or city, and you can see both an extravagance in the use of thulecite, suggesting that the civilization was once advanced and successful, but also the effects of both the fuel and the time that has passed when you look at the dilapidated state of the village today. The next piece of the puzzle actually comes from outside of the game, and we have to look at the metheus puzzle. A lot of people don't actually know what the metheus puzzle is or how to complete it, and I'll leave a link in the description of this video so you can check out the website. I'm not going to explain how to do it because it's a pain in the ass and would take too long for this video, but it is important for the story. See, there are a few murals depicting the tale of the ancients and their civilization. In this first one, you can see the way that the workers farm for food and mine to collect resources, much like we do in Don't Starve today. And this is converted into fuel by what looks very similar to the ancient gateway. And you can see the dark of the nightmare fuel as it spreads, bringing death with it. There are 2 main characters in this tale, the torchbearer and the staff-bearer. These are the leaders of the ancient civilization, the king and queen, so to speak, and it seems as though they balanced each other out in a yin and yang kind of way with the powers of dark and light, for a time anyway. As we move over to the second mural, we can see this didn't last, and the staff-bearer gains dominance over the torchbearer, who's almost cast aside. The light is basically gone here as the fuel takes over, and it seems as though the staff-bearer is using this power to take control of the world and its resources, even summoning what looks like the fuel weaver, or at least the skeleton of the fuel weaver, as well as possibly the robotic sentries that guard the ruins. In the third mural, the fuel has completely taken hold. You can see the creatures have even become corrupted by it, and you might notice that they look quite similar to the statues that appear in the ruins and atrium, as well as Terrorbeaks, which is possibly the final form of these unfortunate beings. And in the gateway, an eye has been opened, and this is important. This is what I believe to be them, a hidden knowledge with devastating power, released unknowingly by the king of the ancients. But the queen hasn't given up hope, and she's desperately trying to keep them at bay. Final stand kind of thing here, defending her king despite his foolish mistake. And over in the final panel, you see the torchbearer ended up losing that battle. Her helmet lies broken on the floor beside her torch, but it seems as though her sacrifice has more or less contained them, albeit too late to save their people. But the eye is now gone and the gateway is broken, resembling what we have in the atrium today. The king alone is left to sit on the throne, head in hands, lamenting the end of their people. From there, we don't really know what happened. We don't know if this is the nightmare throne that Maxwell and Wilson encounter later on. If it is, then it's more than likely that the king has been freed, either to perish or, from what I believe, to take up his new role as the defender of the gateway, as the ancient fuel weaver. The fuel weaver makes many references to the fall of his people, even warning players to not continue down this path, lest they meet the same fate. And when you defeat the fuel weaver, he throws down a single rose, almost as if to say, It's curtains. The show is over. But it could also be a reference to something else, or someone else. And that takes us to the third major player in this game, Charlie. As we know, since the advent of a new reign, Maxwell has been overthrown and Charlie is now in charge. Not only does she control the Nightmare Throne, but she can even be seen manipulating the ancient gateway. You could even argue that Charlie is already using the power and knowledge of them today, as the bosses and creatures brought in during her reign are much stronger and much more powerful than anything we've seen previously. But what does this have to do with the lunar islands and all the ocean content that we've been receiving? Well, actually more than you might think. As we've seen in the Metheus puzzle Murals, there is a kind of equilibrium between the powers of the Nightmare Fuel and the powers of the light. In the Murals, this is provided by the torch, and we know that the moon has powerful and creative capabilities. Wormwood was formed from a shard of the moon that fell from the sky. The moon glass axe is stronger than the gold or even thulecite variety, and the glass cutter has double the durability against nightmare creatures. It really seems like we're being set up for a kind of battle between the dark and the light, between us and them. Unfortunately, since the initial Turn of Tides update, we haven't really received anything more to add to this kind of battle between good and evil, and I put this down to Klei just trying to flesh out the ocean side of things. You can't add in a massive area and then leave it empty. Maybe it was more than they bargained for and the moon might have been better to have as a biome connected to the rest of the land. I don't know, but I think with the latest update, we're maybe getting to a point where Klei can move back to the main theme of the story here. And I'm still incredibly excited to see where this leads. What does the Celestial Tribute have to do with all of this? Will that be the way that Charlie finally gets us to release them into the constant yet again? Will the return of them bring with it some kind of hard mode, seeing as we're gonna have to face the same enemy that brought the ruin of the civilization before us? Are we gonna get some kind of lunar reset in the same way that the Fuel Weaver fight resets the ruins? Only time will tell, I guess. If you haven't noticed, I find this stuff absolutely fascinating and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So let me know in the comments what theories you have for the return of them and what kind of content we might receive in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video and are as excited as I am to see what's coming next, and I'll see you then. Take care.